You know that feeling when you're facing a problem that's so tangled, you don't even know where to start? It could be about building a new habit or maybe growing a business. The feeling's the same. You're just stuck. Well, today, we are going to dive into a really powerful way of thinking. It's a simple framework that kind of acts like a master key, one that can unlock challenges in just about every part of your life.
I mean, we've all been there, right? That moment you feel completely and utterly stuck. It's such a human feeling, whether you're fumbling for words in a conversation or staring down a much, much bigger problem. It's that feeling of just having absolutely no idea what the next step is. So, what's really happening when we feel like that? Well, that feeling of being stuck usually comes from being overwhelmed. We see this massive, complicated challenge, and our brain just shuts down. We can't see a clear path forward because the problem itself just feels like this giant, shapeless cloud. But what if the answer wasn't about finding some magic solution, but about having a magic way of looking at the problem?
Okay, so how do we get unstuck? The key, and this is a big one, is to stop looking at the problem as one giant messy blob and start looking for its hidden structure. And that's exactly what a framework does. It's a tool that helps you break a huge problem down into its small core pieces. Once you can see the parts, you can actually start to fix them. So imagine for a second, what if you had a single concept that could explain why you finally started going to the gym, or why a customer decided to buy a product, or, why you keep putting off that one task on your to-do list? A sort of master key for decoding human behavior itself. Turns out something like that actually exists. That master key is a simple but really powerful formula. It gives us a language to figure out why any action or lack of action happens. This is going to be the golden thread that we follow for the rest of this explainer. And here it is. It's called the Fog Behavior Model. Now, it was originally developed to understand how people interact with technology, but its uses go way beyond that. The idea at its heart is just brilliantly simple. It gives us a formula to understand the mechanics behind literally any human action. Okay, so here's the formula you need to remember. For any behavior to happen, you need three things to be true. First, you need motivation. That's the why, your desire to do it. Second, you need ability. That's the how, and specifically how easy it is to do. And third, you need a prompt, the trigger, the now, the little nudge that says, do it now. Now, this right here is the secret sauce. It's not enough to just have motivation, an ability, and a prompt floating around. They all have to converge. They have to hit at the exact same moment. That's the magic. If there's a behavior you want to happen and it's not happening, it means one of these three things is missing at that critical moment. All right, so that's the theory. Let's make this real. Let's see how we can apply this to our own lives. We're going to start with a challenge that, let's be honest, is a pretty universal part of just being a person. We all want to manage stress better, right? The motivation is definitely there. I mean, who actually likes feeling stressed out? But so often, wanting to feel less stressed doesn't translate into action. So if we use our framework, the problem isn't a lack of motivation. The breakdown has to be happening somewhere else. So instead of just telling ourselves to try harder, let's ask a much smarter question. How can we managing stress easier? In other words, how do we increase our ability to cope? And what kind of prompts can we put in our environment to trigger those healthy habits right when we need them? And here's what that looks like in the real world. You see these tips from the CDC. Get more sleep, move your body, eat well. These aren't just vague, good ideas. In our framework, these are specific ways you can increase your ability to handle stress. Think about it. When you're rested and nourished, your capacity to deal with stuff is just higher. You've made the behavior of managing stress fundamentally easier to do. Okay, so this framework clearly helps with personal stuff, but what's really amazing is how it scales. The exact same way of thinking that helps you build a meditation habit can be used by huge companies to drive their growth. Just think about it. The questions are basically the same. The forces that drive your behavior, your motivations, how hard you think something is, the triggers all around you, those are the very same forces that drive a customer's behavior. So it's really no surprise that the smartest folks in marketing and product design, they don't just guess. They use structured frameworks to understand and shape customer actions, and it's all based on these same core principles we've been talking about. You've probably heard terms like these thrown around in business meetings, right? Churn analysis, funnel mapping, audience segmentation.
They can sound like super complex corporate jargon, but let's just pull back the curtain on what they're really for.
And this is how it all connects. These buzzwords, they're really just our motivation, ability, and prompt framework wearing a business suit. Churn analysis is just asking, why did our customers' motivation disappear? Funnel mapping is all about increasing ability by making the customer's journey easier. And audience segmentation, that's about finding the right people to send the right prompt to at the right time. It's all the same stuff. So let's see this in action. Here's a super simple 3-step framework for tackling customer churn. First, you measure the problem. How big is it? Second, you ask customers why they left. You're digging into the why, their drop in motivation. And finally, you test a new offer to bring them back. That's your new prompt. See, it's a clear, logical way to solve a huge business problem using our core ideas. So, whether you're trying to reduce your own stress or reduce customer churn for your company, the fundamental approach is the same. It's about having one powerful way of thinking that you can apply to, well, almost any problem you can imagine. And that right there is the biggest takeaway. The next time you feel that stuck feeling with a complex problem, just remember this. Your first job is not to solve it. Your first job is to break it down. Find the structure. Find the parts. So, this is your new toolkit. Anytime you're stuck, just walk through these steps. First, get super clear on the one behavior you want to see happen. Then, just start pulling the levers. Is the motivation, the why, strong enough? Can you make it easier? Can you simplify the ability? And finally, is there a clear, perfectly timed prompt to kick things off? So, I'll just leave you with this one question. Think about a challenge you're wrestling with right now. Could be personal, could be professional. What would happen if you stopped looking at it as this impossible mountain and instead you started looking for the motivation, the ability, and the prompt? What complex problem in your life is just waiting for a simple